this was going to be a part 2 because there was one more mess I wanted to share. This is the hardest one, to be honest with you. The molestation one is easier to talk about. Because I've dealt with that and I've dealt with this too, but I've talked about that more. Happy with my life. It's not something that I regret, really. I do, but I don't. I'll explain. When I was 18 years old, actually when I was 17 years old, I met a guy. About a month and a half before I turned 18, I met a guy. And I fell in love with this guy. It was one of those love at first sight. As soon as I laid my eyes on him, I was just, I don't really know now if it was love at first sight or lust at first sight, but I just knew that I liked him, you know, and that he just pulled me in. Well, he was a great person. He's still a great person. He's in the military. He's in Iraq for the second time now. So I got to know this guy, and I'm not going to say his name, but I got to know this guy, and it didn't take long. We fell in love. I think we were together for like 3 weeks whenever we told each other that we were in love. It was just like, I just couldn't contain it anymore, you know. I was just in such a happiness, something that I'd never experienced before. So, he had to leave to go to Texas, to Fort Hood, for training before he went to Iraq. He was supposed to go to Fort Hood October 31st, 2003. And he would be there until March, middle of March of 2004. And then he would go to Iraq for a year. Well, we decided that we were in love and we wanted to get married before he went to Iraq because we didn't want to wait until he came home. I think he was ready to get married because he was scared that he wasn't going to make it home, and he wanted to get married, and he wanted to have a baby because he didn't know if he was going to come home, and he wanted to have something behind if he didn't make it home. So we got married on October 10th of 2004, and he left 2 weeks later, and it was the worst day of my life. But the worst part was the loneliness. I was very lonely. I didn't have very many friends, and the friends that I did have, you know, they had their own lives. I mean, they were around, but it just, I don't know, it just felt like I didn't have anybody to lean on, you know? And I couldn't wait till Christmas. I was counting down because he was coming home for Christmas. So we spent some time together at Christmas. We got to go down and visit him a few times for the weekend. And it was bad. It was the worst feeling I'd ever had. In the midst of all this, him being in Texas, my best friend died, so that made it worse. And I was very depressed. I was drinking a lot, alone. Not a good combination. And I was depressed and I was lonely. So when he went to Iraq, I was online a lot, and I was talking on Yahoo sometimes to people, not romantically, just for friends, you know. And this guy messaged me on Yahoo and asked me if I knew this girl which I did know where I went to school with her. He was from from here. Come to find out, it was Justin. And when I was in high school, I dated, whenever I was in high school, I went to junior prom and dated a guy that was friends with his girlfriend at the time. Well, him and the girl had ended up getting married, and then they were going through a divorce. And he was trying to find some people around to date, So I told him that the girl he was asking about was married. And we just chit-chatted, He was lonely and I was lonely, and we became friends. And he lived actually right down the street from me, and I didn't even know it. So we hung out a lot and watched movies and got dinner, and his roommate too. It was platonic. I was lonely and depressed, and I loved my husband, and I still missed him, and it helped to get my mind off of it. But one thing led to another, and eventually the platonic relationship ended, and me and Justin ended up sleeping together. And I got pregnant with Noah. And I got a divorce. I fell in love with my husband, and I still loved my husband, and then I fell in love with another guy. And I was in love with two people at the same time. They're two completely different people, and I loved different parts of both of them, And it was hard. It took me years. It took me until Noah was about a year and a half to get over all of that. It was very hard. Very hard. Because, it's not like my ex-husband really did anything to cause the situation. It was my loneliness, and I found somebody that I became friends with, and it turned into something else. But at the same time, as much as I loved my ex-husband, our relationship wasn't perfect either. He was selfish, and when he was gone, all he thought about was himself. He never asked how I felt or if I was okay, because he didn't want to talk about it. So, when he called, we talked about the weather and crap like that. I mean, it was not good. And I know it was the stress he was under, but I was under stress too. And I don't know. So that was the biggest mess in my life, I think. But, life goes on, and you get over things, and I'm happy with my life now. I don't regret it. I don't regret the way things have turned out. However, I do wish that I could have spared him the pain that I caused him and myself, and Justin too, because he got hurt too, because I told him that I couldn't see him anymore because I didn't want to ruin my marriage. And then I found out later that I was pregnant with Noah. And it took me and Justin a long time before we had a good relationship. We had a lot of downs and not very many ups for a long time. My heart had to heal, and he knew that, but it was still hard on him because he loved me. I thank God that he loved me enough to let me get over my loss and everything so that we could really be happy together. And we are. And he is a wonderful person, and I think that we were meant to be together. It was just the wrong timing, And I don't know how that message might help anybody, but all I'm saying is, if you think that your life is at its lowest point and that things are never going to look up, have faith, because you could be at that low point and something wonderful could happen. You never know. I never thought I would get over, everything that happened between me and my ex-husband and be able to be really happy with Justin and not, wonder or regret anything. But, it's been a couple years, and I'm fine with the situation now. And my ex-husband moved on, and he's got a wife and children, so life gets better. Don't ever forget that. It can always get better.